Hey guys, this is going to be our video for decimal place value, which we've been talking about in class. So we're going to start by looking at one of these charts. You should have one of these in your notebook. Now would be a good time to pull it out and refer to it if you need to. We are starting by looking at the place value. So you can see right here, this is the tens place value, the ones place value. Here's of course our decimal, the tenths place value, the hundredths place value, and the thousandths place value. So if we're actually talking about how much these places are worth, if we're looking at the tens place here, you should know that the tens place value is worth 10. Looking at the ones, you should know that the ones place value is just worth 1. The tenths place value, you should know that that one is worth 1/10. Also recognize that we can write it like this, or we can write it as a fraction, which is just 1/10. The hundredths place value, it looks like 1/100th. We can also write that as a fraction, 1/100. Looking at the thousandths place value, we can write that as a decimal, or we could also write it as a fraction, 1/1000. Okay? Now, if you'll remember back to class this past week, we've been talking about multiplying and dividing the how many times greater or how many times smaller is the value of these numbers. As we move to the left, we know that we have to multiply by 10. So we always multiply by 10. You should know that the value of the hundredths place is going to be 10 times greater than the value of the thousandths place. The tenths place is going to be 10 times greater than the hundredths place. The ones place is going to be 10 times greater than the tenths place, and the tens place is going to be 10 times greater than the ones place. Looking down at the bottom, you see I have my pink bottom arrows. We talked about going to the right as well. Whenever we go to the right, the value of that number decreases by 10. So we're actually dividing by 10. On Friday in class when we watched the amplifier, we also learned that you can divide by 10 or you can multiply by 1/10. So dividing by 10 is the same thing. It's equal to multiplying by 1/10. So I'm also just going to note that I'm multiplying by 1/10 down on the bottom. Okay, take a minute just to look at this, kind of soak this in. Again, I know I mentioned before, you're probably not going to see too often of it saying divide by 10. You're going to see more often it referring to it as multiplying by 1/10, which, like I noted down here, dividing by 10 and multiplying by 1/10 are the same thing. They are equal. Okay? Now, if we want to look at a couple of examples here, I have them on here. Just a second to kind of flip my pages around. This question right here, it says, in the number 455,055, which place value is 1/1000th of the 5 in the 10,000ths place? So as you can notice here, I've underlined the 5 in the 10,000ths place. That's the first thing I need to look at. And then I need to know which number is 1/1000th of that. So if I'm looking at 1/1000th, we know that 10 to the second power is equal to 100. So therefore 10 to the third power equals 1000. I'm going to have to go back 3 times, because this is what this exponent tells me. I'm going to have to go backwards 3 times in order to figure out which digit is 1/1000th of this 5. So I'm going to go backwards 1 time. I know that that's multiplying by 1/10. Okay. I go back a second time. I know that that's multiplying by 1/10. And I go back a third time, which that's multiplying by 1/10. Therefore, which 5 is going to be 1/1000th of this 5? Well, I ended at this 5 right here. This 5 is in the tens place, so the answer is going to be 50, because we know that it is this 5 right there. Now, if we look at another one, this says, in the number 609,509, how many times greater is the 9 in the thousands place than in the ones place? So if we look right here, we want to know about the 9 in the thousands place versus the 9 in the ones place. Well, it says how many times greater. So in order to get greater on my chart, am I moving to the left or am I moving to the right? If I'm getting greater, 10 times greater, then I'm going to be moving to the left. So I'm going once, twice, 3 times. How many times greater is this 9 than this 9? I multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10. I know that 10 to the third power equals 1,000. Therefore, this 9 is 1,000 times greater than this 9. I hope this video helps clear up any confusion that you guys may have had this past week. We are going to be continuing to work on this, so I hope this helps.